So we normally kind of chat about what we're going to chat about before we start chatting about the movies, and then it turned out we just kind of did it already, and so here's that recording.
Where's my drink? Where's my drink? There it is. Good. That.
Yeah, I just got some water myself. So you doing something harder? Kidding.
Oh no, no. So I have been drinking a bit more. I very rarely drink for the most part. Very rarely drink alcohol these days, anyway. But for the last little while, I've really fancied the odd beer. So I've been getting some beer in to have a beer in the evening.
What have you been having?
It's nice. Oh, just like supermarket stuff.
Sure.
What's it? The stuff I'm drinking is called Peroni at the moment.
Oh yeah, I know Peroni. We get it here. It's Italian.
Yeah. It's all right. It's nice.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not. I have no sort of palate at all when it comes to food and drink. So.
No. I wasn't. I'm curious. I'm curious just as a friend and as it's a hobby, but it's not.
Yeah.
I used to be that kind of. I don't know if I would have really said beer snob, but I probably leaned into that a little bit more in my late 20s, early 30s. But at this point, it's like you drink what you like. It's fine.
Yeah, I have no idea if it's good or not, but it tastes nice to me. So
Peroni is a perfectly serviceable European lager. It is.
Yeah.
It is completely. It is exactly the thing that it is. Yeah, I've. It's been a while. I drink one. I think usually you can only get it in green bottles, and you get the skunkiness from green bottles. I don't know. I'd have to look at that. Maybe it's in brown bottles now. But
I've got it in green bottles. So
okay. There's a. You don't care. It's fine. there's a chemical reaction that comes from ultraviolet light that can break down some of the hot compounds and create that skunky smell and that skunky flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I try to avoid anything that comes in a green bottle. I would drink Pilsner or Quell more often, except unless you can get it in cans, it's almost universally in green bottles here. It's in brown bottles in Czechia. It's in green bottles here because we can kind of started the craze of European beers belong in green bottles.
Green bottles.
So
yeah.
and that was the height of sophisticated, the height of class before in the the 70s and 80s. It's how there's a line from
Sorry. We don't have any sort of color coding as far as I know anyway.
No, I mean
Budweiser's in brown bottles here. So
no, Budweiser is in brown bottles here too. No, it was like it's a mark of like European imports here. So at least it was like 40 years ago. I mean, it's less so. The world has changed. But sorry, this is my old hobby. I don't even follow. I don't even do this stuff anymore. It's just it's just a thing. It's like.
Well, this is it. I had no idea that there was any sort of semiotics attached to the color of the bottles. This is news to me. So
there was even an ad campaign in like like Austin Powers. There was like so even in 99, when Austin Powers 2 came out, there was there was an ad that kind of emphasized the green, like the Heineken green bottle. It's like a big advertising gimmick,
See.
I think the line was "Get your hands off my Heine" because it's Austin Powers and it's got to be a double entendre,
Yeah.
But no, sorry, I haven't thought about that in a long time. No, I was just curious. I was like, does Peroni come in? Like, I haven't even thought about buying a Peroni in a long time. I mean, I don't turn my nose up at it, but actually, I've been drinking Mexican lagers a little bit more. I mean, I think it's just eating a lot of Mexican food and speaking Spanish just kind of put me in that headspace of like And
I was drinking some Corona as well. I think that comes in clear bottles.
That one comes in clear bottles. So Corona is and Heineken or Peroni maybe as well, but nowadays there's an international conglomerate called SAB Miller, South American Brewing Miller. It's Miller Brewing, it's like Miller Lite in the US, and then SAB they merged like 15, 20 years ago or something like that. And so they're one of the greatest. It's like them and Anheuser-Busch are the two biggest, beer manufacturers on the planet. SAB Miller products typically use they don't use real hops. They use hop extract, and that extract does not have that particular compound that causes the skunking qualities. And so you can get Miller products, and I'm just going to Google this shit. I don't care, but still.
I do. It's interesting. It's a whole new world.
I could show you. Peroni Brewing. Peroni is owned by Asahi. So Miller's parent used to own Peroni. Okay. So all right. I was just curious if they would be one of those products that does not use the. And I don't think it's universal across all Miller products, but it is. That's the particular reason why Miller Lite you could always buy in a clear bottle, or a like Corona Light you could buy in a clear bottle, and you don't get the skunk because they're using an extract, But yeah. I've been drinking at Modelo Especial, which is actually it has a prominent place in One Battle After Another, and so I was like, it literally like it spoke to me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy one, and I'm like, hey, it's a pretty good little thing to have in the fridge, It's not what I drink. I don't drink it every day. It's not my favorite beer, but it's like, oh yeah, when I just want a little, something small, because I normally drink bigger beers. I normally drink like 7.5% alcohol IPAs and stuff. That's kind of my go-to stuff. And sometimes you don't want that. You want like the 4.5%, something a little more relaxing. And it's cheap too. So, it's not cheap, but it's inexpensive and it's decent quality. And so I'm like, yeah, no, I enjoy that. It's fine. Yeah. Sorry, I did a beer reference in our last episode, and now I'm talking about beer with you.
I tend to get a headache if it's got too much alcohol concentration. Yeah. So the lower concentrations suit me just fine.
Oh yeah.
I like it taste. Although, as I say, I have no palate, so I have no way of knowing. Actually,
that's good. I mean, if I promise you, if you wanted to, we could go on a pub crawl and I could talk you through all this stuff.
You could explain it to me. Yeah,
I could. I mean, I've done it. I used to do it all the time. I used to, I worked at a high end beer store for like 5 years. I was like their beer guy, like a sommelier of beer kind of thing. I knew them all. I tasted them all. I knew everything. So God, I was making like $10 an hour, But I got a lot of street cred around town because it was around the time when like beer started being like the boom happened, So we had this, and people just
are drinking a lot.
People don't drink as much as they used to. Yeah. And the kids, they all drink like hard seltzers now. They don't drink beer. They drink hard, well, they used to call them alternatives, like the Max Hard Lemonade and stuff. They're just seltzers, but they're alcoholic.
All right.
I will never taste one of those because that just sounds horrible.
That sounds ghastly.
Yeah, they're like fruit flavored and all kinds. It's just like, no.
No, it reminds me of Alco Pops. I don't know if you had those.
Yeah. That's the alternatives. It's kind of it's the similar concept. Yeah, you might even be the same term for in two different. But I've had a couple of those. I mean, somebody hands me one. Somebody hands you one, you're gonna drink it. But
Yeah.
I bought a couple just to have said a single just to have said I tried it. But it is what it is. It's I could say, I mean, we're talking Germany today. I mean, we could talk German beer. I could talk about that for a while. Anyway.
Yeah.
We don't have to.
I like Beck's. Beck's is nice.
Beck's is good. Yeah. Weinstefaner. It's a very long German name. Weihenstephaner. I could type it out for you if you want. Paulaner and Spaten are probably the three, kind of classic brands.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to encounter those in the shops around here. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah.
They just don't recognize the names.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of one of those. Those are more I mean, Beck's is Germany has actual purity laws. The Reinheitsgebot, which your German is better than mine. So, the German the purity law in 1516, I think it was. And they decreed that only certain types of ingredients can be used in beer. And at the time, the ingredients were water, barley, and hops.
Hops, yeah.
So you can't use adjuncts, like you can't use corn, you can't use those sorts of things. You can't even, but then later on, I believe they amended it to where you could use wheat. Those German wheat beers are some of the best in the world. And it's a mix of barley and wheat. It's about 40% wheat, 30% wheat, depending on the brewer. I used to homebrew as well, so I even made these beers for myself. I got pretty good at it for a while. And then the thing they didn't include in that, which is a necessary ingredient, the thing that makes beer, is yeast, because yeast had not been discovered. The fermentation process had not been described at that point scientifically, so nobody knew. You just knew, you stir it with this particular spoon that you always stir it with that already has the yeast infection in it. And it brews, but if you don't use that spoon, and nobody knew why, it was just magic until like Louis Pasteur in the 18th century. Yeah, no, And then they had to get like skirts to go, oh yeah, you can add yeast. It's fine. You're good. You good. It has been modified over the centuries, but they're very proud of it. And so like your your Budweisers and a lot of the American lagers and like cheap Mexican lagers and stuff will often have like a corn adjunct. So it's just corn is cheaper than barley. And so they put a certain percentage of corn in it to boost the sugars you can get to, so you can boost the alcohol and make it a thinner body, and make it cheaper. And so like that's so like the American adjunct lager and adjunct is, and in Germany it's literally not allowed. Legally, it's not allowed. You can't sell it as beer if it has any of those other. Which is why in Germany, ironically enough, you would know it as a shandy, but it's a Radler in Germany. And these are mixes. It's like a lemonade beer mix, or and they're just sold on shelves. And I assume you can get them if you. I mean, I don't know how widely available they are in grocery stores there, but I'm sure in England they are known as shandies, and it's also common in England. But England didn't have that same kind of purity law. Strip brewing in England is also a fascinating subject. I I have long wanted to come to Britain and just pub crawl for a week. I think that would be a great time.
There's a lot fewer pubs than there used to be.
Yeah,
even in when I was a student going to college, I would walk from the bus station to the college, and it was like a 20-minute walk, and I'd walk past, God, I don't know, 10 pubs on the way.
Yeah,
it's not like that now. They're all gone, or not nearly all of them anyway.
Yeah,
it's all coffee shops. To the extent that there's any businesses in any of the premises in the town centre, they're mostly coffee shops and phone stores and shit like that.
Well, here they're all dispensaries. All the old breweries closing, they're now dispensaries. I was oh my God, I was talking to my sister. So weed has been legal here for a long time. I mean, it's just it's openly sold. It's federally legal, but the feds don't prosecute it. It's fully legal.
No.
Although something that was signed in the latest package, I think, is going to make certain products illegal. Which
there's anti-hemp laws in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, because
good job.
Mitch McConnell and so on are all being paid by the
Chuck Schumer. Yeah.
Chuck Schumer. Yeah.
God,
Chuck Schumer.
They won. Democrats just completely cleaned house. And then a week later, no, we're look at our little bellies now. We have our bellies. Look, we just pet our bellies, and we'll. Oh, Jesus Christ, guys, you had it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing a right-wing response to the Mamdani win, but I think the other people have already done that about as well as I could. So there's no reason for us to do it now. But it was pretty glorious in the days after, just watching Megyn Kelly lose her fucking mind,
implode.
And the Showa boys being ecstatically happy because it meant Republicans were getting screwed.
Yeah,
because they see the Republican Party as the thing standing in their way. So the weaker the Republican Party is, the better. The weaker MAGA is, the better it is for white nationalists, or at least in terms
they'll
of
be able to step in and yeah.
Well, you just have to destroy that thing, and the fake thing that's being held up by the Jews. You have to get rid of that thing, and then something else can happen. But until that structure is gone, as long as people have that to have faith in, there is no moving forward. A lot of the way that a lot of people, leftist vanguardists think about the Democratic Party,
or here the Labour Party,
no, very much so.
Yeah. Step one, collect underpants. Step two,
exactly.
Question mark.
Yeah, no, you have threatened to do an episode about that one day. Maybe we will. Maybe
we'll do that one of these days. Yeah, that is a fascinating text, that episode.
I think you and I are just avoiding discussing Nuremberg at this point. Because,
Inflated sense of self. Charming. Speaks English. What? What? Yeah, the way he looked at me when I called him fat. Yeah, he understood me. He's been playing you. No, why would he pretend? Translation gives him more time to consider his answers. He thinks that gives him an advantage. Wait, hold on. You're saying I spent the last 3 months mumbling to myself while he understood every word? Pretty much. Jim, are you gonna tell him that you know? No, he's gonna tell me when he's ready. When's that? When he determines I'm not a threat.
Well, should we start? Should we start discussing Nuremberg? Yeah,
I guess we should. I basically I rewatched a little bit of the movie. I did a little bit of reading, but not a ton. And I did Judgment at Nuremberg for the first time last week as well. And so I mean I don't know that there's a necessary. I don't know. So you didn't rewatch Judgment at Nuremberg?
I didn't get a chance to rewatch.
I'll probably reference it a couple of times, but like there's no reason to do both this and Judgment at Nuremberg. I mean, it's kind of I would have a lot of the same criticisms, honestly. Although I think obviously Judgment at Nuremberg is the better film. If only, I mean, it's got Burt Lancaster and Spencer Tracy, and and William Shatner. Man, William Shatner
pops up. Yeah, that's almost the only thing I remember about it is that William Shatner pops up.
Yeah, William Shatner's in it quite a bit. He's in it more than I thought. I thought he was gonna, like how Harrison Ford is in what was it? Harrison Ford is in
The Conversation and Apocalypse Now.
I was thinking about The Conversation where he's in that like one scene, and so if you don't know he's coming, it's sort of like, holy shit, there's Harrison Ford, and then he's gone because he wasn't a star at that point, or Arnold Schwarzenegger is in The Long Goodbye.
The Long Goodbye, yeah.
I thought this was going to be like that. No, he's in a good third of the film. I mean, he's a third. Let's see, in the IMDb cast list, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's 8th down the line in terms of. And IMDb is obviously not authoritative, Wikipedia is not authoritative. But it's like he's in the movie. Like he's right there, pretty front and center. That is a star. I mean, that is just a list of stars. It's like literally everybody's in that fucking movie. Anyway,
everybody wanted to be in those Stanley Kramer movies because they were serious movies, weren't they? You know, if you were in one of those, it meant you were doing serious work.
Yes. You were in a message picture.
Yeah, message picture. That's
important things. Yes,
that's right.
And I did. I mean, parts of it have not aged well. But I think overall, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was. I would see it again. Yeah, this one.
It's fictionalized, isn't it?
It's completely fiction. It's completely fiction. It's not about the actual the big trial of the big war criminals. It's kind of a fictional secondary trial, isn't it? I think. Yeah. It's one of the later, because the Nuremberg trials in reality they were a series of trials that took place over a course of 3 years, I think.
Several years.
The big one that we know of is the first one, in which is the subject of this film, but the other ones are Judgment at Nuremberg is more about, like, it's one of the later ones, and it's fictionalized, and it's about, it's more about the concept of, the good German, etc. It's kind of interrogating, general question of complicity rather than, kind of making the case for like these particular people and these particular crimes, if you know what I'm saying. And boy, we're doing it before we do it, but, watching Judgment at Nuremberg and then watching Nuremberg 2025, it's like, oh, you ripped a ton off from that movie. There's,
really?
Oh yeah. Like, basically most of what's good about Nuremberg 2025 is straight from Judgment at Nuremberg.
Well, it's a funny thing because I was watching the movie, the 2025 movie Nuremberg, and I was having very similar thoughts about it and its relationship to the 2000s miniseries with Brian Cox as Goering.
Okay.
And
I have not seen
Alec Baldwin as Jackson. It's much better than Nuremberg 2025.
Well, I mean, it's not difficult to be better than this.
But they took a lot from that. I think somebody obviously saw that.
Well, we'll talk about that, and maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll come back to it. I don't want to do more Nuremberg after this.
Yeah.
At least not immediately.
Let's get all the Nuremberg done in this one. Yeah.
We'll do, and you can talk about the miniseries, and I can talk about the film if you want. We can just reference it and stuff, but. Now it'll be fine. I just kept thinking about A Few Good Men. And it's a movie I really like, maybe because I just saw it when I was 13, and it's just one of those movies that I loved. It was one of the first adult movies made for adults that I found as a young teenager and connected to. And so I just have a love for that movie. I understand just how nonsense it all is. I just like it. I'd like it when Nuremberg borrows liberally from a lot of it's A Few Good Men, which was Judgment at Nuremberg mixed with the King's Speech, like that kind of period.
Oh yeah.
Clearly the whole point is Russell Crowe wants another Oscar. So hold on, how many?
A Few Germen. That's
a good one. That's a good one. Well, let's see.
That's the response you want to a joke. No laugh, but that's good.
Well, you often do that to me, so or you don't even go, "That's good." You just move on. You just kind of roll your eyes and move on. I always figure, no, that was funny. That was funny. I liked that. That was good. And Jack does not approve. So we're good.
Cold silence from the UK end of the conversation.
Oh yeah, no. So Russell Crowe's been nominated 3 times and won once for Best Actor. And I
what
thought
did he win
won
for?
I thought it was A Beautiful Mind, but he won for Gladiator.
Oh right.
And he was nominated for The Insider. So he hasn't been nominated in 20 odd years. So what was he up against? Who won? And his picture was A Beautiful Mind. But he's up against Denzel Washington for Training Day. Okay, that makes sense. Oh God. Oh.
I don't get it. I don't get the Russell Crowe thing. I mean, I get when he was young and hot, but I don't get it anymore.
You will never hear me not go to bat for LA Confidential. For Russell Crowe, LA Confidential, that is mesmerizing for me.
He's great in that. That's the only Russell Crowe performance I like.
Yeah, let me look. I haven't seen The Insider. I should see The Insider sometime. Really, that year, looking at 2002 Best Actor, it's Denzel Washington for Training Day, Russell Crowe for A Beautiful Mind, Sean Penn for I Am Sam. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Will Smith and Ali, and Tom Wilkinson and In the Bedroom. And of those 5, that is a very easy it's Tom Wilkinson by a mile.
It's always Tom. If Tom Wilkinson's in any list, it's probably him. Yeah.
He passed, didn't he? He passed a few years ago, didn't he? Yes, he did in 2023.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the best thing in Batman Begins. It's the best thing in a lot of things he's in.
Although, mysterious casting. I don't know why you would cast Tom Wilkinson for that role, but he does okay with it.
Yeah,
no. Yeah, it's very strange.
Russell Crowe. What else? I mean, I just don't like Gladiator in general, so,
why isn't Tom Wilkinson playing Alfred? Anyway, let's not do the Batman movies again.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the new Robert Pattinson ones. I've been thinking about seeing that. I haven't seen it yet.
I've seen the first one, and it is genuinely one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Okay.
It is. It's one of those films that's so bad you can't even hate it. It's just boring, and it's so stupid. The writing is so fucking dumb. It's beyond belief.
Man, he's just a Bastard Commander. That's another. I liked him in that.
Oh no, yeah, I beg your pardon. He's good in that. Yeah.
3:10 to Yuma. I've seen the original many times. Have I seen the remake? I don't remember. I don't remember him. Sorry, I'm just looking at his list of. Man, he's just done a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously he's in Man of Steel.
I like him in that as well. He's a good Jor-El. I'll give him that. Yeah, okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I never did get why people like Gladiator. It was such a boring film.
Well, and that's the same year as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And if you're going to do like action film nominated for an Oscar, Crouching Tiger is like 1,000 times the film that Gladiator is.
Never seen it. Oh, but I'll take your word for it.
It's very good. It's very good. I think maybe it would be difficult to get into now, that context of the time, because it's like doing like the Matrix kind of waifu stuff, but it's doing it in a much more kind of authentic, to Chinese cinema way. And so it does have to have a little bit of knowledge of that kind of era of, yeah. Again, I love the movie. I rewatch it. I rewatch it every couple of years, and I think of it regularly, but I don't know how well you would respond to it like now, like if you just sat down and decided to watch it. I don't know how, God, he's done a ton of stuff and just nothing that has ever interested me. My God.
What about, his greatest role, Dr. Jekyll in the Mummy with Tom Cruise?
I vaguely remember that existed. I did not know. I never saw it. And I never planned to. I just remember they announced like, we're going to do the dark universe. We're going to make one movie. It crashes instantly and everybody forgets it exists. That was the way that was done.
That movie is inexplicably terrible. It's one of those films where it's like somebody's doing a parody of a Hollywood film,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's clearly, it's paint by numbers. Like that was the thing that was obvious about it. It's like, no, like, say what you will, particularly the later Marvel movies, but the whole idea of like, we're going to, kind of introduce these kind of second tier characters and then eventually get to the larger characters and, really give directors like a chance to breathe with the material. I mean, that first couple of waves of Marvel movies are like, I still go to bat for a lot of those movies. I think there's a lot of great stuff there. There are some stinkers, but there's some really interesting stuff. And they built it like authentically. They built it organically. And then DC goes in and is like, no, we have Superman. We're gonna build a whole thing around Superman, and that failed utterly. They made 5 movies, but it failed utterly. And then like Tom Cruise, and we're doing the Dark Universe. We're gonna do the new Universal monster movies, but we're gonna give them $200 million budgets, and it's like, this is not going to happen, guys.
No, I mean, it could have worked.
Yeah,
it could have worked. They're well known. I get the logic. They're well known characters. They're properties that you own because you're Universal. They can be made to exist in the same universe, and in fact, there's a precedent for that. Abbott and Costello meet the Wolfman and Dracula and all that. Yeah, I get it. It's just badly done. It's just really badly. Like the Marvel movies, they are what they are, but they're competently made.
Well, at least the first 10 of them or so are very well made.
Yeah.
Eventually they turn into slop. And as it becomes more corporatized, as it becomes, you're turning it into baby food essentially.
But they don't, I mean, they do, but they don't annoy you as they're going on. It's sort of, the Mummy it was like sitting there being flicked on the nose. That's what it felt like.
Should we do the Mummy there, Jack? Is this something that you're leaning into?
Like, God. Well, I mean, if you want to talk about one of the worst films ever made, I mean, sure.
Oh well, we try to. I really thought this might be an interesting, Nuremberg. Oh, let's do a movie that's actually in theaters right now. It'll be, it's like totally consistent with what we're already doing, etc. And then, again, I was just bored by this. It was just, I wasn't even offended. I was just like, this. I was checking my watch. I was literally like, how long is this movie? I got okay. Yeah, no, it was, and I actually saw it. I actually paid money. I saw it theatrically. Because I've been trying to do that more. Even just going to see a movie alone, I think it's worthwhile. Oh, I saw The Running Man, and boy, that is a mess. The new Running Man.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I mean, it's directed by Edgar Wright, and a lot of the Edgar Wrightness of it, it's just not there. I mean, the trailer, I rewatched the trailer. The trailer sells it as this is going to be a thrill ride. This is going to be Edgar Wright directing the shit out of this classic Stephen King property. It's going to be more authentic to the novel, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's where that stuff exists, it's great, but it's very few and far between. It's very clear that which sections of this movie that Edgar Wright really likes directing and which parts he did not. And it's I mean, it's obviously it's meant to be this dystopic future, et cetera, but it's also it's a really depressing. It's not you can do the depressing slice of life. The little girl needs her flu medicine and stuff, or you can do the over the top zany antics of crazy guy going out there and trying to win this competition or win this, get to survive the 30 days. But you kind of can't do both at the same time. It's kind of a, I was really looking forward to it. Edgar Wright doing The Running Man. I'm opening day. I was literally there opening day. Well, I was there opening weekend. But yeah, no, it did not work for me at all. It's just, I mean, again, parts of it did. Honestly, parts of Nuremberg. I mean, we'll talk about this. I think I might like parts of Nuremberg more than you did. But I think there are parts I'm going to dislike you more than you did. So,
well, shall we transition into?
We should transition. We should get into it. Yeah.
You know more about him than anybody on Earth.
Yeah, that's right. I do. I spent thousands of hours with him. I run hundreds of tests. You know what sets him apart from us? Nothing.
I know.
You know.
Because I'm one of them.
What are you talking about?
I'm German, Doc. I grew up in Munich.
You grew up in Detroit. You said your mom spoke German.
She did. So did my father. Because I was raised here.
You're an American soldier. Why'd you leave?
Why do you think?
But yeah, Nuremberg. A few Nazi men, a few Germen, as I call it.
Yes.
It made me think. It's loads of guys, loads of white guys, very right wing, sat there wearing sunglasses and headphones. I thought that's a bunch of podcasters. But no, actually, Nazi war criminals on trial in the movie Nuremberg in theaters as we speak.
Yeah, well, for now, it is not doing well. I think it made about $6 million in its opening week, and it's open 2 weeks or something like that. So not. It has basically already left theaters where I live.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not in theaters as we speak.
Yeah.
Because it's not very good. Spoilers, everybody. In fact, I hated it. I hated this movie. This was terrible. Yeah, Daniel, your thoughts about Nuremberg 2025?
Okay, let's. I suffer from the fact that I had for
this
this
is going to be a
podcast-
loose one, I think.
It'll be a loose one, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I think I like it better than Jack does. But I was
You like everything more than I do.
I actually, when you really like something, you like it a lot more than I do. Do not. You like Copenhagen better than I do. So I tend to like new things better than you do, but I think that's because you hate all new things. So
I hate everything new. Yeah.
In the last 10 years, is Jack just turns his nose up at it. I've seen this better in 1973. No, it's fine. I get it. I'm with you. 90% of the time, I'm with you. I get to be the old man in so many conversations lately. Anyway, all right, Nuremberg. This is a story of Hermann Goering, who surrenders himself to the Allies in the final days of World War II and is imprisoned and put on trial. And he gets to have extended conversations, in the film at least, with his psychiatrist by the last name of Kelly. What's the first name? Douglas Kelly. Okay. Real guy. This is at least loosely based on a real story. I did a little bit of looking into that. It is, parts of this movie are very accurate and parts of it are not. I think we'll get into that a little bit. And it's the story of trying to convict Hermann Goering during the first Nuremberg trial. I think Rami Malek plays Kelly. I thought, I'll say this, like, there's kind of multiple movies happening at once here. And that's part of the problem. I feel like there was like this was based on a book, and I might be interested in reading the book and seeing what captivated people to want to do this. I mean, I think obviously a lot of the reason a lot of these movies happen is because the lead actor wants to win another Oscar, and that's probably what happened here. People are kind of talking up Russell Crowe as possibly being an Oscar contender for this.
Personally, if there's any justice, he is shit out of luck.
Well, I happen to have certain feelings about a certain other movie is going to just demolish all its competition this year. So I don't think we have a lot to worry about there. But given that Leonardo DiCaprio was probably going to win that, deservedly or not, I think DiCaprio was probably going to crush that. But yeah, it borrows heavily. So I did watch for the first time Judgment at Nuremberg. I'd seen bits of it in the past, but I did watch it. Great classic old Hollywood movie, Hollywood message picture from the early 60s. I think we decided to do this one, or I kind of mentioned it because while I was looking at movies relating to, because after we did Mother Night as the bonus, I started looking at other, this just kind of came up in my Wikipedia searches, and I was like, oh, there's a brand new movie about Nuremberg. We should do something current in theaters and put it out to people. Maybe it'll be good. Yeah. Readers, it was not good, but I was saying to you then, like Nick Nolte. I mean, clearly this was kind of Nick Nolte wanted an Oscar, and Schindler's List was a couple years before, and this is how you get an Oscar: is you play a bad guy, you play an evil fucker in a movie about World War II, and suddenly, people just spew Oscars at you. And I can't imagine that's not part of what's happening in this movie. So whether Crowe kind of was the initiator of this, or whether he kind of, that's how they pitched to him. I think that's what Russell Crowe wants out of this. He wants a second Oscar. Jack and I were talking about this before we started recording, and he hasn't even been nominated in over 20 years. So, then again, he's been in a lot of stuff. Anyway, so it's partly this kind of very dry, serious drama about this relationship between these two men and the complicity of the German people, etc., in terms of perpetuating the Holocaust, the responsibility of Germany itself, the German character. It's about this psychiatrist who's kind of coming in, and his motives are a little bit unclear, but it's clear that he wants to write a book. He wants to make his name off this. He wants to be a big person based on being the guy who interviewed Goering and got him to talk, etc. And I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be like a tell-all. And then it's also a story about Robert Jackson, about Michael Shannon, I think the best performance in the film, or at least one of the best performances in the film. I really liked Michael Shannon in this. I like Michael Shannon in pretty much everything.
I love Michael Shannon. Yeah,
really good in this. Arguably should have been the lead character, but then you don't get the psychiatrist. I mean, in the real story, in the real history. Sorry, I'm kind of babbling, but this is going to be a loose one. Real story is, I mean, the story should be the story of Michael Shannon, and then the psychiatrist is like, he's a bit character who shows up for 15 minutes in the middle or something. Any realistic version of, like, if you want to hear the story of the prosecution of Hermann Goering at the Nuremberg trials, it's Michael Shannon is your main protagonist of that story.
That's how it is in the 2000 miniseries. Alec Baldwin plays Jackson. Jackson is the main character. Goering is the antagonist. Kelly is not in that at all.
Yeah. See, you watched the 2000s miniseries with Alec Baldwin, and I watched Spencer Tracy and star-studded casting lead Judy Garland, of all people.
Yeah, you got the best deal.
I got the best deal out of that. Yes,
although I will say, the 2000 miniseries does have a very good performance from Brian Cox as Goering, and it has another amazing performance in a small cameo role as one of the witnesses from Charlotte Gainsbourg. So there is some very good acting. Yeah. There is some very good acting in it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, part Judgment at Nuremberg. In fact, large sections of the the whole thing about, like, the church, Rami Malek, befriending Goring's wife, and that sort of sequence of, like, look at how nice people they are, etc. A lot of that stuff comes directly from Judgment at Nuremberg. The playing of the atrocities during a long stretch of the film, that's directly from Judgment at Nuremberg. In fact, in some cases, even the same footage. I think it's similar to the footage that was actually shown at the actual Nuremberg trials.
That's in the miniseries too, and it's an extended clip of an actual movie called The Nazi Plan, which is about 3 hours long, and it was sort of stitched together from lots of other movies and some new material at the behest of the International War Crimes Tribunal, and it was shown at the trial, so that's historically accurate.
And then in the last, like, third, when the trial actually starts, because the bulk of this film is really just Rami Malek and Russell Crowe, like, palling it up in the prison cells. Like, he's
really not saying very much either.
He's teaching him magic tricks. He's, because Kelly was a magician. He knew magic tricks, and what a great bit for an actor to get to learn to do magic. To really show the Academy how skillful you are. Russell Crowe, he puts on some money, or he puts on a fat suit, and suddenly, and he speaks a little German. Oh my God, virtuoso acting. Clearly, one of the best things you could possibly do for yourself is to slum it up as one of the fatties like me, and speak a little bit of German. Yeah, no, I get that.
Or you do the inspiring story of a genius who has mental health struggles but overcomes them to win. Oh, he did that as well.
He did that as well. Yes.
Yeah. And we talked about that movie in another podcast. It sucks.
It does. It really does. You don't know how much A Beautiful Mind sucks until you watch it with modern eyes. And boy, that is a bad. I remember really kind of being displeased by it. Like, I liked bits of it when I saw it originally. I saw it theatrically in 2001 or whatever. And boy, that did. But I was weirded out by a whole lot of it. I thought, like, and then once you know the real story, it's like, oh yeah, that is. We're going to use a term here, a term of endearment, a term of art, a term of called Hollywood horseshit. And I got this term from William Goldman, from one of William Goldman's books, Adventures in the Screen Trade. William Goldman being the screenwriter and the writer of the book. He wrote The Princess Bride. He wrote Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He wrote a bunch of stuff. He wrote classic Hollywood screenwriter going way back. And he described Hollywood horseshit as like, Hollywood horseshit is fine. You're making Hollywood horseshit. It's got, the standard, the hero has to win at the end, the whole, people love it. It's what gets asses in seats. That's your Hollywood horseshit. When you're doing this kind of movie and you're trying to do something like a serious depiction of an examination, something that's pretending to this examination of the complicity of the German people, or of, Germany at large in the atrocities of World War II, in the atrocities of the Holocaust. And then you mirror it with, basically it becomes A Few Good Men in the final third. And, you can't handle the truth.
Except that it's in a bad German accent.
In a bad German accent, yes, exactly. And so, yeah, I don't know. I kind of expressed it that, like, there are bits that I like. I really thought bits of Moloch, like the thing it's reaching for of how much is Kelly being influenced by this, like the magnetism of the Nazi idea and the magnetism of his own desires to write this book and to be famous, etc. How much is he overly humanizing the Nazis? Because I think humanizing the Nazis is an important thing to do. But I thought it was reaching for something interesting in that kind of in the very earliest stuff. When Moloch is our Kelly, Moloch, I think Moloch he's good, and I think when he's good here is when he is kind of being more venal and more self-obsessed and a little bit more money hungry, and when he's kind of being an asshole. I really like him when he's being an asshole, but it's just hard to square with, like, and then suddenly he's the unsung hero at the end, who did basically nothing to actually effectuate anything regarding convicting Hermann Goering. So I don't know. It's a big mess, and commits the fatal sin, in my opinion, is that I was checking my watch through a whole bunch of this. I was actively bored during big chunks of this movie, and that's just not. You never want to be in that place where I'm like, okay, when when do I get to say I'm done with this movie? I did not almost walk out. I knew I was, but I was. Yeah, I was close, and then I did not end up rewatching it. I was planning to rewatch it, and I paid money for this. I saw it theatrically. Not the worst $10 I've ever spent, but definitely up there. Anyway, your thoughts? What do you have to say about any of that?
I mean, I agree with most of what you said. It is just tedious, and it has a fundamental dramatic problem, which it shares with the miniseries, which is that there really aren't stakes. The big Nazi war criminals were never in any danger of being found not guilty and released.
Right.
Yeah. Germany was in ruins. The Nazi party had gone down in flames. For all that people try to talk us into believing it throughout the film, there's no imminent danger of a Nazi resurgence in Germany. It's not going to happen. The country is literally occupied by three massive foreign powers that are, and Goering is not going to talk his way out of the courtroom or anything like that.
Right.
And everybody knew that. And so the film desperately tries to persuade you that there's something at stake. Like Goering might win the case and be found not guilty and walk out of the courtroom and lead the German people to the Fourth Reich instantly and stuff. And that's it's not going to happen. Obviously, it's not going to happen. We're watching something essentially predetermined just unfold as it was always going to unfold. So there really aren't dramatic stakes, except to do with like people's careers, except
for like the Hollywood horse shit of it. Like, you have to, in the movie, it has to seem that way because it heightens the stakes. If you know the real history, this is nonsense. But yes,
there are some interesting moments in it. It goes some places at a couple of times. There's, Goering is allowed to raise Hiroshima, for instance.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kelly instantly comes back with, well, we were at war and we were bombing weapons factories and we killed some civilians as collateral damage. That's different to what you did, which, without wanting to sound like I'm equivocating about the Holocaust, because, the horrors of the Nazi Holocaust were completely incommensurable. No, that's not that's not true. But of course, the movie sort of, it does raise it, and it raises the complicity of the Catholic Church before the war. I don't know historicity of Justice Jackson going to talk personally with the Pope.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, the trial doesn't happen. I don't think that. I don't. These trials are not actually something I know very much about. But I doubt that happened. But it does raise some issues. You have the speech at the end where the army translator, who turns out to have been born in Germany and to be Jewish and so on.
In the least surprising,
a very
final movie twist. The very least expected third act twist imaginable in a film, that the German-speaking American soldier who we have been, continually subjected to, as the friendship that he has with, and the antagonism that he has towards one of our main characters, turns out to be, oh no, I was born in Germany. I grew up here. My family was victims of the Holocaust. Oh, it gives our stunning lead a the moral strength to actually do what's right. It was just such, no, I think that young actor is very good. I really liked his performance here. I think
he does well.
Great.
He does.
He's doing what he can with the material. But boy, that was, especially the scene there in like, late at night in the library, and they're like searching around with flashlights. Like, you couldn't have waited till 7. I mean, seriously. Anyway, they're hunting around with flashlights in this burnt out husk of a library. And Rami Malek, as Douglas Kelly says something like, we have to figure out what's wrong with the Germans. At first, he's talking about like the German, like these particular individuals, and this, the psychosis, the psychology that led to this horror. And then he starts to just casually talk about them as Germans. It's like, oh, we have to know what's wrong with the Germans. And you get a nice, good cut to this character, and it's like, oh yeah, I know where this is going.
But that's kind of the movie, good and bad, in a nutshell. Actually,
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
you do get that speech from that guy who says at one point, he says, my family were trying to get out. We're Jewish and we're being persecuted, and we're trying to get out, and no other countries would take us. And it's interesting for a movie like this to go there, to bring that up. That loads of countries across Europe just wouldn't take Jewish refugees, or didn't take very many, etc., including my own. Refused to take very many Jewish refugees. That's interesting. That's not the sort of thing that gets raised in stuff like this that I'm accustomed to.
Yeah,
and also that bit you just mentioned, where early on the Kelly character is talking about working out how this happened, and what he says is, indeed, what's wrong with the Germans. Well, that's interesting as well, because that's kind of a thing that's been forgotten about in our in the way we remember this. That a lot of people at the time, there was this thing called the Sonderweg hypothesis, which was basically that Germany had somehow departed from Western civilization. It had lost its connection with the normal. Obviously, the noble, law-abiding civilization of Europe. Somehow, Germans had just gone wrong somehow. And part of the rationale behind this entire process of the trials was they were consciously, people like Jackson, they were consciously thinking in terms of, we need to put Germany back into the West. We need to reintegrate them into Western civilization. So it's raising some interesting things here and there.
Yeah, no. I mean, and I think that, like, even the idea of, like, what is your complicity in terms of understanding these people, and what is the fact that Goring and other other people are raising the things of, like, well, what about the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki? It's like, yeah, also a war crime. Yes, I agree. What about the internment camps? Also a war crime. I agree. You are correct. Yeah. I agree with Goring in the exact opposite direction. Yes.
And Churchill starving Bengal, and the French in Algeria, and the Soviet Union starving Ukraine. Yes,
absolutely.
Indeed. Heavy duty hypocrisy at work here,
absolutely.
No doubt at all. Yeah.
It was interesting the film went there, and I was like, I really thought the film was going to do something with that. I really was kind of in the thing of, like, yeah, we're in a Hollywood structure, we're doing this, but the film is raising this. It has to do something with this idea. No, it absolutely drops it completely at a certain point. Really, that scene where, sorry, I wanted to give the actor credit. Leo Woodall there is a Sergeant Howie Triest. He's the German-speaking soldier that we befriend early in the film. Again, liked that performance quite a bit. Howie Triest, he's good. Howie Triest lived to be 90-something years old. He died in 2016. Beloved by his extended family. I don't know, just really nice to see when a Holocaust survivor gets that. Sorry, it's just one of those things that, like, I looked into it. I just read his Wikipedia page. I'm like, oh, that's actually really cool. That's cool. Yeah, that he went on to have that life. It's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that moment, that scene is really when anything that is at all thematically interesting, or anything that's gesturing at an idea of there is some nuance here, there is some ambiguity here, goes completely out the window. And then racing for the end, when we get to convict Goring, we get the big speeches, we get, et cetera, and Rami Malek gets to be the hero for some reason. I don't like, yeah, it's completely incoherent at that point. But there's a lot of Hollywood horseshit. There's a lot of Hollywood horseshit before that, but there's something interesting, and I really thought the film was going to do something, and then it just completely did not. So anyway,
it's also Gentile savior narrative.
Yes,
isn't it? It's the Jewish chap has to say to the Gentile, punish Goering for me, please. You can save us. Having just talked about how nobody saved the Jews of Europe, it switches instantly to, good Gentile, save me. And he does. And that's pretty distasteful, I have to say. Particularly when, as far as I can tell, Douglas Kelly had no role whatsoever in helping Jackson or, the prosecution nail Goering or anything like that. Gilbert, who is the other army psychologist there. And,
played by Colin Hanks. Played by Colin Hanks. Yeah.
Yes. That's accurate. They were both there, and they did work together. I don't know if they ever hated each other and fought. I don't know if that's true.
I think that bit is Hollywood horseshit. Because
so.
They were originally planning to write the book together, I think, and then Kelly just ran off with it and went, "No, fuck it, I'm doing it by myself."
Kelly was a bit of a mess. Yes. I some sympathy for him in some respects, but he did apparently agree to co-write the book with Gilbert and then just renege on it. And what he does apparently is he just fucks off. He just says, "Yes, I've been here too long, and I want to get back to my wife, and I want to start work on the book." And he just leaves. He just ditches the trial and the defendants and everything. And it's Gilbert who is depicted quite anti-Semitically in the film, I think. He's depicted according to some quite nasty anti-Semitic stereotypes. The Jewish character, Gustav Gilbert, an Austrian Jewish man, or of that extraction anyway, he's depicted quite insultingly in the film. He was the one who did more to at least try to help the prosecution with his insights, according to the historical record that I know of.
Yeah.
So it's pretty icky, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. No, but Jack, doesn't it just completely overwhelm all those conflicts, all that, because Rami Malek himself is not white? Clearly, so there's no criticism is allowed.
I suppose,
according to values that you and I both hold as fervent members of the left. No brown person can do anything wrong or be portrayed as doing anything wrong ever.
Yes, actually,
as the right wants us to think, Anyway.
You might have heard my phone buzzing there. I've just got a text from George Soros, chastising me for criticizing a person of color and telling me never to do it again, because apparently that's against the rules of my Antifa membership, and my next check will be withheld as punishment. So. Damn.
They're gonna revoke your Antifa membership card, Jack.
Yes, they are. They're gonna recall it. Yeah. Yeah. I don't like the way the film focuses almost entirely on Goering. I understand why they want to do a battle of wits thing or a sort of the seductiveness of evil thing, and of course, as you say, they're giving Crowe the big juicy role and so on. There's a lot more to that trial than just Goering. I mean, there's so many other fascinating things happening in that trial. You also have Speer. He was at the same trial. Speer is a fascinating. Hess is actually there's a BBC drama documentary series from a few years back, which is, I think, probably the best dramatized depiction of the Nuremberg trials. If you don't worry about all the British actors doing terrible American accents, where they do 3 episodes of it, 3-hour-long episodes, and one focuses on Goering, one focuses on Hess, and one focuses on Speer, and that has loads of stuff in there about Gilbert, and Kelly pops up in that as a character, and so on. But yeah, it's a shame because there's so much more. I mean, some of the other characters. Some of the other defendants are in it as characters. You have a little bit about Stryker, you have a little bit about Robert Lye, and so on. But it's Speer isn't even mentioned. Hess is in it to an extent. It's one you mentioned it before. The movie's trying to do too many different things, so it brings Hess in for a little bit. You get some flashbacks and stuff, but it just makes the film feel muddled. So it falls completely between those stools. It tries to do too much at once, and also it doesn't do anything like justice to the material,
Yeah, no, it's also 2 hours, right about 2.5 hours long. So yeah, 2 hours 28 minutes. So right about 2.5 hours, and it really is like for this kind of film, you either need to cut that down to 1 hour 45, 2 hours. You either need to really like trim back the fat on this and really tell us like one cohesive story, or you need to expand all that and really get into all of this. But it's just one of those things. I don't know. Like to me, I was like, so this is written and directed by James Vanderbilt. He's got a
Wrote
long
Zodiac.
Zodiac, and boy, like there must have been a very different kind of production process behind Zodiac. I mean, if
Zodiac's, for all my issues with it, it's a much better film.
Zodiac is a much more interesting film and a much more interesting script. It really is trying to get at something. It really is trying to eat away at dig at this knot of who these characters are and what's going on and what it knows about the world. And it's just, you wonder, did Fincher just come in and demand rewrites? I mean,
there
did
are
Fincher
some
just elevate
similarities, aren't there?
Go ahead.
Zodiac is about a slightly obsessive, slightly unscrupulous writer who becomes unhealthily obsessed with the Zodiac killings, to the point of sabotaging much of his own life and harming the people around him and so on. And there's something similar going on in this, the idea of the slightly unstable, slightly unscrupulous person who is basically on the right side, but is far too attracted to the darkness, far too attracted to evil. It's the same story in some respects.
Yeah, no, it's, clearly, and it is completely fair for, a filmmaker, for a writer-director to have continuing themes. It's just when you find out, oh, you wrote Zodiac, so you can do better than this. There was no reason for this movie to be this gormless, to be this aimless, to just be I saw it Saturday. Yeah, I saw it Saturday night. Or Saturday, I saw a matinee on Saturday. And we were recording this on Monday, and I am literally the movie just completely whispered away in my brain. I even was sitting there, I was taking mental notes about things I was going to say, and I've kind of said them all in this conversation now. But boy,
it might be a bit short, yeah.
Just we've said it. We've said what we have to say about this. It does. All the great stuff in it. It just ripped directly from Judgment at Nuremberg. I think a lot of its flaws are kind of ripped from Judgment at Nuremberg as well. But at least 1961 was the time in which melodrama was a little bit more respected in your big such pictures. It's just hard to get much out of this at all. I just suddenly realized that Michael Shannon and Russell Crowe have acted together before in Man of Steel.
Yes, that's right. Which is probably a better film than this, even though it's not very good.
Which is probably true. At least, there's stuff I don't think I'm ever revisiting much of this again. This, there really was a thing. There really was something going on here that they really can reach for something. And the talent, James Vanderbilt is not a, director, I guess, or not a hugely well-known guy. There was something there, God, I'm looking at, he wrote the Amazing Spider-Man. Well, he did the story. He did the first Amazing Spider-Man. That's the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. He wrote the first one. And I mean, there's a lot of problems with that, but it's not bad because they did a lot of things with the backstory that made it bad. But again, he's had a extended as a screenwriter. He's directed a couple of things. He's not untalented. It's just, I don't know. It's just this. It feels like everybody's kind of phoning it in a little bit. Like everybody's just kind of, you're just going through the motions because I guess you won an Oscar or it was a paycheck or whatever. And boy, this movie is not doing well. So I can't imagine this is going to be in any way successful for anybody. But
I think it's looking at the trailer, it's pitching it as here's Russell Crowe, the character actor, playing a fascinating, exciting villain. It's kind of pitching it along the lines of the I'm doing it again. The Dark Knight trailer, showing you Heath Ledger as the Joker. It's Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. It's trying to bring you in on that, and I'm afraid Crowe's performance is just not up to it. It's not. There's nothing exciting or interesting about that performance.
Well, there's nothing. I mean, I think the big thing is I'm going to play Goering as charming. Nobody thought of that before.
He could be charming.
Exactly, and nobody thought that evil guy is actually secretly charming, or he gets away with his crimes because of his charm. I mean, I'd almost rather if you want to have Russell Crowe play Goring and play him in this way, there's almost I would almost say choosing to do it at his trial is the absolute wrong decision. You want to see the wartime Goring. You want to see that Goring played by Russell Crowe. That would be a much more dynamic and interesting portrayal. And then that movie might actually go to some interesting places. But Saying it,
well,
it ain't Schiff. It ain't it, Schiff.
The interesting thing would be, I think, sort of particularly pre-Nazi takeover. It would be the years leading up to it, because you'd be able to show the duality of Goering, which is that he could be this urbane, bon vivant, charming, type who'd go to dinner parties with his upper class wife and stuff like that, and then he would don his Nazi uniform and he'd be an absolute brutal thug in the streets. I mean, he's a bit old to do it, but a movie about the beer hall putsch would be better.
Well, gee, Goering, if the Russell Crowe of LA Confidential and Romper Stopper, had that material to work with, that would have been a really great movie, wouldn't it?
That would be better, yeah.
God, who could do that today? Who has that kind of energy now? Gee, I don't know. It's hard to.
I don't know.
You don't know any young actors though, so I don't know very many of them. But
I don't know any young actors. The irony is that Shannon, because of course by the time the movie depicts Goering as going cold turkey on his drugs and choosing to lose weight.
The Rocky sequence, that's right. 30 seconds. The old man pushing himself up, going cold turkey because he's got to really, I mean, it really does feel like a Rocky Balboa in training sequence. Like, what are we doing here?
It does.
I expected the music. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah. And he did own tigers, by the way, so that would work. No. Yeah, I mean, it seems almost inappropriate to talk about historical reality, given that this is a movie set during the Nuremberg trials where characters have dialogue like, it's a lot to process, and word as an expression of agreement. But even so...
I missed that one. Yeah.
Even so, the historical truth is that Goering was forcibly deprived. He was weaned off his pills and put on a diet by the Allies. By the time he gets to the trial, he's quite thin and skeletal. So the irony that made me laugh when I realized was that Michael Shannon actually looks more like Goering at the time of the trial than Russell Crowe does.
It would be more interesting. I mean, I would love to see Michael Shannon try to take that on. I think that, Shannon might have... Yeah, no, it's just tough. I mean, to me, most of the problems are just with the script here. I mean, I even think that sometimes when you see these poor, these kind of not great performances, or it often comes from everybody's phoning it in because the script just isn't there. I think Bryan Cranston said something to the effect of, if you give me a B script, I can make it a B plus. I can perform it to be a B plus. But if you give me, if you give me an A script, I can make it an A plus. I can really bring my game, but I can't make a B script to an A just based on acting. And I think a lot of times actors don't even really try. And I don't know, it's hard for me to just going to look at this as the great Russell Crowe performance. It's just,
No, it's not good. There's nothing thrilling about it, nothing challenging about it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it does try to do is at the end you have the scene where Kelly is doing some sort of radio debate program. And it's actually the only bit of Malik's performance in the film that I like, because he really captures that sort of semi-drunk, truculent guy having an argument while holding a cigarette round a radio microphone in the 1950s thing. He gets it in that scene, and I like that.
No, it's the one time it really seems like he's alive. He was actually awake. He was actually awake.
It's very over the top, but it feels authentic.
Yeah.
But he's sort of expressing.
He's sitting there after he's they go to commercial or whatever, and he's sitting there, and then his agent or whatever comes up to him and is like, they're not going to invite you to the next segment, but
yeah.
And then he walks out, and then we just roll credits. It's he took his life 17 years later or whatever. It's one of those
But the reason that they don't want him, I'm sure this didn't actually happen, but the reason that they don't want him to continue on the show is that he's been saying things like, the Nazis that I talked to at Nuremberg, they were not, in contrast to what he thinks at the start of the film, this is his journey. The Nazis that I talked to were not fundamentally different. They were, and I think this sort of, the banality of evil thing is overstated, but they, his thesis seems to be they're just they're not ordinary, but they're not fundamentally different or alien or mad or anything like that. And so things like this could happen anywhere, including here in the United States.
Yeah.
And I quite liked the depiction of, there he is in the United States on the radio, and he says that, and it's just, no, fuck off. We don't want to hear this. We don't want to know. And I think one of the things the movie is going for that I like is it is trying to comment on what's happening in the United States today.
Yeah, well,
the trouble
that's
is
actually go ahead.
The trouble is just to finish the thought is that the rest of the movie contradicts that idea because it shows Goering as this incredibly clever and cunning and charismatic supervillain, which is a direct contradiction of what Kelly is saying.
Yeah. Also, if we're going to draw the direct comparison, it's like, yes, Hermann Goering, talented man of war, erudite, highly sophisticated, just like Donald Trump. They're like the same man. No, I don't know.
There are some similarities, but yeah, I think Goering was. Yes. Goering actually, he did fight in the war bravely, which Donald Trump would never do. So.
Yes, Mr. Bone Spurs himself. Yes, I agree. No, I actually I was nonplussed with trying to directly comment as if we're commenting directly on American politics, at the end of the film. I thought it was. It
doesn't work, but I like that it goes for it.
Well, I thought it was completely unearned. I thought it was completely
yes.
It is. It's it's this tacked on bit, and they're trying to do it as if you see other even movies I like kind of have this quality of they to the end of they want to say something about what's going on now. But then they want to have their cake and eat it too. It's like, well, no, this is just a generic statement, and they can be said about lots of different things. And of course, we want Republicans to come see this movie, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, yeah, no, I think you already said what you meant to say. Anyway, I don't know. I thought the movie didn't earn it at all, and I thought it was it took me out of the moment because what otherwise could have been a movie this is set in a specific time and place. It is set in the immediate couple of years after. Months and years after World War II, in this very specific political situation, and it's reaching for all kinds of things we have to get the Russians on board, and actually we need to Germans kind of heal because our new enemies are the communists, et cetera, and it's making motions in that direction. It's it's saying the right things at times. It is kind of questioning the complicity of the U.S. government and in some of these crimes, and the Vatican itself. It is deliberately making, and that's pretty pointed. There's some real juice there, and it motions to it. It thought it was going to kind of talk about that, and then it drops the ball entirely. It's very disappointing. Very disappointing.
Yeah, it is ultimately just a kind of theatrical display of the American moral superiority or Allied side moral superiority, which is kind of what the trials themselves were, even at the time. To be a bit cynical about it, there's plenty of stories to be told about how incredibly lenient, actually, incredibly leniently most of these people were treated.
Yeah, no, there's I was going to mention this. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a great video essay by Jacob Geller. Discussing, I think it's of Nuremberg. I rewatched it before we got on the call, and it's very good. It's much better than this film at really getting at what the Nuremberg trials were and what they weren't. If you haven't watched that and you don't know a whole lot about the history of the Nuremberg trials, it's definitely worth a watch. I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
All the German Nazi industrialists and capitalists were basically completely let off for their complicity in the regime. Yep. You do have the Krupp trial. They're found guilty. They're let out after 2 years. Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then of course you have the Far East war crimes trials in Japan, where basically the American government sabotages it because they want to turn Japan into an ally against the communists. So you have almost a complete mothballing of any sort of attempt to hold Japanese imperial war criminals to any sort of account, including the royal family. Their involvement led off completely and stuff like that. It leaves a kind of a bad taste in the mouth to just have this same trite. Particularly not long after Peter Watkins died, it's a bit galling to be watching this just absolute perfect demonstration of what he called the monoform in cinema, just coming out with something this trite and sort of sentimental and morally smug. But I don't suppose you can expect anything else. It is what it is. It was always going to be this.
I mean, there was some interesting stuff here, and
that's what makes it so frustrating that most of it doesn't go there, because it keeps on sort of almost going there, and then nah.
No. All right, that's about all I have to say about this one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a bonus episode.
That was a bonus episode of sorts. Yes.
I think we found the film guilty. Haha.
It will be hung by neck until it dies. Yes.
It will be hung from the news cycle until it is immediately forgotten.
Yes, indeed. All right, that's it. Okay.
That's it. Well, thanks for listening to this bonus episode. Listen to the next bonus episode and listen to the non-bonus episodes as well, if you know what's good for you. I just got interested in that sort of key piece of evidence, and that's really emphasized in the miniseries. It's really emphasized in the miniseries as well. The memo, whatever it is, that's from Goering to Heydrich saying, "Come up with a final solution," and it's presented as, the smoking gun, and Goering supposedly comes, he supposedly scores a point against Jackson. I think it's kind of true that Jackson didn't do terribly well in the cross-examination. No. But he supposedly scores this touch where he says, "No, it's about immigration. Look, it says there at the top." And I became fascinated by that. Which is the
exact same thing that these fucking Nazis do today. No, that document. No.
Yeah. But I became fascinated by that because that the movie leaves that open, and I thought, well, what is that? What does that mean? I don't like that it leaves that open. It depicts Goering as being caught out by Maxwell Fyfe, who's an interesting guy in himself. He probably responsible for Alan Turing dying.
Lovely.
Obsessive homophobe who stepped up entrapment of gay men while he was Home Secretary. So. Although he was also involved in setting up the European Court of Human Rights, so mixed bag there. But no, it depicts Goering as being defeated, but it leaves that point standing about the emigration document, and I looked into that, and that is actually interesting. It's probably true that Goering thought that was about emigration, because at that time they hadn't actually decided to exterminate the Jews of Europe. This is early 1941. According to the historians that I tend to agree with, the decision to actually launch the total extermination is probably taken in late 1941. So Goering is kind of being honest there, where he says, no, it's about immigration. The thing is, not only did he know full well about the decision to turn it into extermination after that decision was taken, one of the guys at the Wannsee conference is one of his secretaries, and he's at loads of other meetings where they talk about the extermination, etc. So, it's not the case that he didn't know anything. He was up to his neck in it. But the other thing is that, yes, at this point, they're talking about emigration, and none of them seem to be entirely clear about exactly what that means. But they know by March 1941 that it means sending expelling all the Jews of Europe from Europe to the east, to the conquered territories in Russia, where they will be used as slave labor and they will be allowed to starve to death. So yes, it's about immigration. Well, it's also genocide already. Before they've set up the death counts, it's already genocide.
It's something, God, now we got to include all this in the episode. So I guess we're just doing it again. Okay. This is the actually interesting stuff. You're right. Yeah. You didn't, no, we're good. No, what I land on is what I always say. And the more I studied Holocaust denial, because I haven't studied the Holocaust as much as I've studied Holocaust denial, like the techniques of Holocaust denial. And historicity of everything. The issue that you run into is that the Holocaust was not an event. It was a process. It was a thing.
Yeah.
It started off one way and it evolves. But the stage was always available. It was always available in nucleated form. The chrysalis of the Holocaust was always there from the very beginning. The logic, the murderous logic was always there. And whether you're talking about exporting people, or you're talking about, eliminating people, or you're talking about exterminating people, the language changes, but the intent does not. The last line of Judgment at Nuremberg, if you don't remember, because it's Burt Lancaster and Spencer Tracy. Burt Lancaster plays Ernst Jennings or something like that. I forget the exact name, but he plays this guy who was like, these are like lower level functionaries in the Holocaust, and this is all fictionalized. But he says something to the effect of, if I had known what this was going to turn into, I would never have done it. I would never have been a part of it. And Tracy says, it was the first time you sent someone, you sent someone to prison that you knew was innocent. That was it in total. That was the whole thing. That was, you committed the crime, and you committed the worst of the crimes in that moment. And I really agree with that. Like the second you start to,
it's all there in
use your power, because it's not just using the power. It's not just lying. It's you're using the law. You're making proclamations on behalf of the state. You're using state power fraudulently. And to the degree that state power can ever be real, can ever not be used fraudulently, is a question we will leave aside for now. That is a more complicated rhetorical point.
Yes.
It often defines on how we want to define the state, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I tend to be very skeptical of those kinds of ideas, to put it mildly. However, to the degree that we have a system of laws, we have a system of rules and regulations under which we are supposed to abide, and to the degree that you start to bend those rules for political purposes in the ways of convicting people of crimes that they are not actually guilty of, for whatever purpose, you are by definition doing the thing that leads that, and that's what's happening in the U.S. right now. That's what's happening in my country right now. It's in the chrysalis stage. It's in its infancy, but it is happening, and it is absolutely, the cruelty is already here. And the question is, how far does it have to go before something puts a stop to it? And this is much bigger than Donald Trump at this point. It is not a matter of, well, who wins in 2028, although that is also important. But anyway, all right. That's a better ending. I like that. All right.